Welcome back, YouTube. We're at it again. We're here with the Subaru, and we're going to swap the CV shaft, and hopefully my little ticky noise goes away, since there's nothing else that rotates in that general corner to make the noise. So let's get to it. Here's the part number. I just grabbed one from AutoZone because if the things go bad, AutoZone's down the street and Rock Auto would be a pain in the ass shipping stuff back and forth. So forget it, lifetime warranty at AutoZone. And I think with tax and everything, I was like 87 bucks. The front, both driver and passenger are the same part number. Get a 3/4 inch socket and a breaker bar or a drill, whatever you got. Take off the lug nuts and pull the wheels off. Jack up the car, take your tire off. So there's a few things that are going to be in our way to be able to get this axle out. First thing we got to deal with is the nut on the front, then the brake line and the ABS sensor are going to be tight if we leave them attached to the strut, so we're going to take those off. First things first, you have to knock this out of that hole. That's the safety. It doesn't use cotter pins, so it uses that. So yeah, take a small flathead or a punch or whatever you feel like using and open that up. The hub nut is a 32mm. Remove this bolt that holds the sensor wire. Loosen these two bolts. On the other side, you're going to remove this bolt here. That'll disconnect the brake line from the strut. Both of these bolts here are 12mm. Remove those. You're going to want to remove both of these strut bolts. They're 19. Hold one end and undo the nut side. I want you to remember that the camber adjustment bolt is the top one. The whole hub assembly will just fall down like this. Next thing we're going to do is pry the back side of this, or pull it if yours is loose enough to just pull it out. Mine, since this thing has like 250,000 miles, it's stuck. I'm going to use a pry bar, pry it out of the hub, pull it off to the side, and then we'll get to the next step. Now that it's off, you can see it's loose on this end. I'm going to try to first just yank on it, see if it'll pop out of the transmission. If not, then I'm going to have to use a pry bar and pry it out of the transmission. So I believe this is a factory CV shaft. I can't really tell. I don't see any markings. Obviously any stickers would have fell off by now, but it's all wobbly. And this one is not. So, as of right now, I'm going to assume that this was just clicking, because when I put the new suspension, it raised it a little bit, which might have took it out of the comfort zone for this thing, since it was worn out. So now I'm going to put this into the car. So you just slide it in, make sure it's lined up, and then it's not obviously in, so I'm going to just sort of tap it in until I hear a click. Right there. Boom. So that clicked in now. So I'm going to go down there. Obviously it's too hard for me to show you, but you just want to make sure it's fully seated and there's no gap between the transmission and the little cover plate here that's on the other side. Now that that side is flush, it wasn't flush, so I had to smack it in a little more. Use a handy dandy rubber mallet. Now we got to get the axle lined up. Wiggle the rotor. That will wiggle the hub, which will wiggle the splines, so you can get it all lined up. So now that it's coming through, just gonna partially thread this on, and now I'm gonna put the top one is the camber adjustment bolt. We're gonna put that in first, and then we're gonna put the other bolt in. Put the camber adjustment bolt in the top, standard one in the bottom. The washer goes back on the top. Then your two 19mm nuts, one on each, they're the same, doesn't matter. Now what you're going to do, you're going to spin the bolt side until you feel the top of the hub go all the way in, then hold it, then tighten this down. That'll give you full negative camber until you get to the alignment shop to get your alignment done. Now that everything else is tightened, take your 32mm and run down the nut on the end of the axle and torque it down. You're going to torque it down to the value I'm putting on the screen right now, so pay attention. Pay attention. There you go. This is what I'm going to use. Got a little punch, got a little hammer, and what you're going to do is, remember at the beginning you pulled out where it was punched? Now you're going to punch in, after you torqued it, you're going to punch in the wall into the groove of the axle. Once you have that knocked in to the groove, you're all done. Now let's put the wheel back on. Thanks for coming and watching, guys. Hopefully I saved you some money so you don't have to pay a dealer a bunch of money to do this, because it's super easy. Realistically, anyone should be able to do it. If I did save you some money, maybe think about hooking me up with $1 a month on Patreon. I know I sound like a douche asking, but hey, I'm trying to put out more videos than I can afford to put out. Anyways, till next time, wrench on.